Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, dear audiences, accept a warm welcome on the online ceremony on the occasion of the 43rd anniversary of the victory of the Islamic Revolution and National Day of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We wanted to have a gathering here in our embassy on the occasion of the National Day, but unfortunately, due to the restrictions of the pandemic, we decided to go online. We will start our program by the national anthem of the Islamic Republic of Iran, following by the national anthem of Romania. After that, we have the message of His Excellency, Mr. Hossein Amir Abdullahian, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, following with the message of His Excellency, Mr. Hossein Sadat Meidani, Ambassador of Islamic Republic of Iran in Romania. Following that, we will have the message of His Excellency, Mr. Teodor Meleșcanu, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania. And after that, we have a very short clip of the achievements of the Islamic Republic of Iran during 43 years. After that, we have a very short clip, which I personally really like. Is about the Iran-Romania 120 years of diplomatic relationship through the lens of archives and photos. After that, we have a documentary film about the natural, historical, and cultural heritage of Iran. Thank you very much and enjoy.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. هموطنان گرامی، ایرانیان عزیز، صمیمانه ترین تبریکاتم رو به مناسبت فرارسیدن سالگرد دهه فجر و پیروزی انقلاب شکوهمند اسلامی ایران پذیرا باشید. بسیار خرسندم که تأکید کنم کشورمون در 5مین دهه حیات نوین خود شاهد توسعه در ابعاد متنوع علمی، فناوری، صنعتی، دفاعی و سایر ابعاد هست. تردید نکنید که شکوفایی اقتصادی کشور هم با سرعت و با قدرت و با برنامه‌ریزی و پیگیری جدی در آینده نزدیک حاصل خواهد شد. دولت 13 در جمهوری اسلامی ایران با نگاه به رویکرد سیاست خارجی متوازن، دیپلماسی پویا و تعامل هوشمند با قدرت به پیش خواهد رفت و اهداف و منافع ملت بزرگ ایران رو محقق خواهد ساخت. ما در میز مذاکرات وین گفتگوهای جدی رو برای رسیدن به یک توافق خوب و پایدار دنبال می‌کنیم. همه تلاش‌های ما معطوف بر لغو مؤثر تحریم‌ها علیه ملت بزرگ ایران هست. نسبت به آینده خوشبین هستیم و امیدوار هستیم که همه طرف‌ها به تعهدات خودشون حول مذاکرات وین برگردند. در عین حال در داخل سیاست و برنامه توسعه اقتصادی پایدار رو با قدرت دنبال می‌کنیم. گرامی می‌داریم یاد و خاطره شهدا و ایثارگران عزیز رو. موفق باشید.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome to the online ceremony of the 43rd anniversary of the Islamic Revolution of Iran. At the beginning, I avail myself of this opportunity to express my sincere congratulations to the nation of Iran and all peace and justice lovers of the world. It is very unfortunate that we cannot be your host in person. It is regretted that due to the situation caused by the coronavirus and in order to maintain the health of our guests, we were forced to organize this ceremony online. Dear guests, the Islamic Revolution of Iran took place in 1979 by the Iranian people for independence and self-determination. In fact, the Islamic Revolution of Iran is a social, political development in line with the long-lasting aspirations, principles, and values of the great nation of Iran. The most prominent achievement of the revolution is the political system, which is recognized in the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Iran, according to which individuals have the political and civil rights, and the central role of self-determination is left to the will of the Iranian people. In this regard, during past 43 years, almost 40 elections have been held in Iran. Also, building on self-confidence and political independence, the Iranians have made significant improvements in various fields. Some of these important achievements can be introduced here. I am delighted to tell you that Iran is one of the developed countries in many medical indicators at the global level, in a way that it ranks 15th in medicine and 7th in the pharmacology. It is also among the top 10 countries who produce anti-coronavirus vaccine. According to Web of Science statistic, in 2021, Iran was ranked 15th in science production. In the field of stem cells, Iran ranks first in the West Asia region and 13th in the world. In the field of aerospace, Iran also ranks first among Islamic countries and 13th in the world. In the field of drone and unmanned aerial vehicles, Iran ranks 5th in the world. Iran ranks 16th in the world in gasoline production, and finally Iran is the 13th largest steel producer of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, in the foreign policy, the Islamic Republic of Iran has always acted within the framework of the international obligations and has pursued a set of principles and positions. Certain observations in this respect. First, despite the efforts of some states to destabilize the West Asia region, including by intervention and supporting terrorism, Iran has always been at the forefront of the fight against terrorism and is the supporter of the peace and security in the region. Iran is open to sincere talks with its neighbor to tackle any differences and misunderstandings. In Iran, we reject without any consideration, all terrorist acts. Of course, the fight against terrorism should not be at the expense of the right to self-determination of the foreign occupied nations. And in this respect, in accordance with international law, Iran has always supported the liberation movement against foreign occupation. Secondly, Iran has always been ready to interact with other countries on the basis of equality and rule of law at international level. For example, Iran's good faith manifestly was demonstrated in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, in 2015. Unfortunately, Iran's goodwill was responded with bad faith, since the unilateral withdrawal and reimposition of sanctions by the United States in 2018 created a situation which undermined the sustainable and effective implementation of the JCPOA, especially the economic benefit of the Iranian people from the lifting of the sanctions. Now, this is the other parties, particularly the United States, who must show their seriousness in fulfilling their international obligations by fully and effectively lifting the sanctions against the Iranian nation and providing objective guarantees for non-repetition in future. The Iranian people are not satisfied with anything less than their rights, and they neither forget nor forgive the past hostile conduct of the United States vis-à-vis the Iranian nation. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you let me, I will address some observation on the bilateral relation with Romania as well. The official relation between Iran and Romania date back to very distant years. December 2021 marked the 114th anniversary of Iran's recognition of the Romanian independence. Iran, in fact, was one of the first non-European countries who recognized Romania, and since then, the political and economic relations between the two countries have been based on cultural commonalities and mutual interest. July 2022 will mark the 120th anniversary of Iran-Romanian diplomatic relations, and the two countries will celebrate the occasion. Iran has the will and is ready to develop further the bilateral relation with Romania in all mutually agreed areas. Today, there are very clear horizons for further cooperation between the two countries. I personally, as ambassador of Iran, believe that as old partners, Iran and Romania do have many historical grounds that can contribute to the development of the bilateral relations between Iran and Romania. For instance, Iran and Romania have always had a good economic and trade relations. It is regretted that from 2018 to 2020, we had witnessed an unusual decline in the economic relations. But given the historical background of the two countries in trade, it seems that the businessmen of the two countries have now regained their way of activity. And I am delighted to announce that according to the latest statistic, fortunately, the volume of trade between the two countries has grown in 2021 and reached almost $400 million in this year. I think this number could even increase in 2022, as we are celebrating the 120th anniversary of the bilateral relations. Dear guests and audiences, at the end, I wish progress and prosperity to the Romanian and Iranian nation, and I hope that by using as much as possible the available capacities, we would witness the development of relations more than before. While wishing health and well-being to all of you, I hope to meet you in person at the earliest opportunity. Mulțumesc, سپاسگزارم.
On the occasion of the National Day of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I wish for Iranian people peace and prosperity. This year, we are celebrating 120 years since the establishment of diplomatic relations between Romania and Iran. It must be pointed out that official relations with Persia, as it was called at that time, were established as of 1880 after Romania acquired its independence as a modern state. However, the relations between the inhabitants of Romania and Iran go very far back in time, as recorded by Herodotus in the saga of Darius and his incursion on the Black Sea shores and the Danubian plain. The memories of countries and empires, of conquests, invasion, victories or defeats were a part of the history for both Romania and Iran. Their respective location at the geopolitical junction between Europe, Asia, and Arab world, and originally at the influence of ancient civilizations between the Iranian plateau and the Mediterranean world, and further connecting east and west through the Silk Road, they have always been a daunting challenge and opportunity. The Strait of Hormuz, through which flows 1/5 of the world's global oil consumption and a quarter of the LNG trade, and the shores of Iran with the Indian Ocean make its southern maritime gateway, whereas the Caspian connects it to both Europe and Central Asia. Through the Black Sea and the Caspian, or by land across the Caucasian republics, Turkey and Iran, Romania is the bridge between the European Union and Central Asia, an approach we promoted during our presidency of the European Union. We promoted during our term in office in the European Union Council presidency relations with the Middle East and Central Asia were organized by Romania for the first time an European Union and Arab States summit with conclusions concerning Iran, and preparing also for the Conference of Syria in Brussels, both of them in 2019 during our presidency. During our long history, both Romania and Iran have been connected by the links between our citizens and the ties established between our two countries, irrespective of the political system of our states. The economic relationship between Romania and Iran were always profitable and contributed to the development of our countries. One of the most important refineries in Romania on the Black Sea shore was especially dedicated to the processing of Iranian crude oil with sulfur, whereas Romania's tractors and the development of agriculture was always of interest for Iranians. One of the most important issues for Iran and the international community is the joint comprehensive plan of action called sometimes nuclear deal. The solution of JCPOA is not important only for Iran, but also for all the countries in the region, including the members of the Gulf Cooperation Council. It will entail different approaches to stability in order to create a peaceful region. It is also important for the European Union and trade with Iran, including the transfer of green technology. It can be a very important contribution of Iran, not only for the region, but further around. In conclusion, we are open to support all initiatives conducive to solving this complicated dossier, which is vital for a peaceful environment, the security and the prosperity of Iran and of all interested parties. Iran is really one of the most important players in the region, and the great human and intellectual potential as the rich resources available to contemporary Iran, based also on a great heritage and a long and diverse history, are an asset calling for its contribution and continuous integration, spirit of cooperation, and contribution to the universal principles and common good of humanity. Thank you.
The achievements of the Islamic Republic of Iran after these 43 years has clearly shown that Iranians are on the right path. Let's look at some of these achievements. Today, we travel easily throughout the vast and stunning land of Iran. There are 6 times more transportation routes in Iran and an increase of main and secondary roads from 36,000 kilometers to more than 210,000 kilometers, and the doubling of the length of the country's railway lines from 4.6 thousand kilometers to nearly 10,000 kilometers. In addition, not only have these eased traveling, it has also improved the production, trade, and transit infrastructure. Also, with the 20-fold increase in the capacity of the country's ports and the increase of its capacity from 10 million tons to more than 200 million tons, international exchanges have been significantly improved. A 30 times increase of the number of reservoir dams in Iran, from 13 to about 400 large dams, shows a significant jump in capacity and improvement of development infrastructure after the Islamic Revolution. There is 14 times increase in the country's electricity production, increasing access to drinkable water for 96.2% of the country's population. 57-fold increase in non-oil exports from $543 million in 1979 to $31 billion now. 30 times increase in the production of petrochemical products, 24 times increase in the production of steel, and 15 times increase in the production of steel products. 24-fold increase in the number of students from 176,000 in 1979 to 4.3 million now. The share of Iran in the production of ISI articles in the last 43 years has increased about 5 times, from 0.1% of the global share to 1.65%, with 23,000 articles published per year. Relying on the power and knowledge of its experts in order to defend transverse integrity against global and regional threats, as well as the development of modern technologies, the Islamic Republic of Iran has succeeded in building light and semi-heavy aircraft and helicopters, upgrading military technology, building and launching satellites, short-range and long-range missiles, tanks, ships, submarines, and the production of high-speed boats for the first time in the country's history after the revolution were some of the successes in the defense field. Iran has also made significant progress in the field of medicine, in the field of manpower and physician training. Considering the doubling of Iran's population since 1979, the number of physicians has increased tenfold. Also, specialized advances and equipment in the field of medicine have made Iran a hub of medical tourism in the region. Today, Iranian scientists produce more than 95% of the country's pharmaceutical needs domestically. After the COVID-19 pandemic, Iran faced the toughest sanctions, but with the efforts of the medical staff, it was able to meet basic needs such as masks and disinfectants, ventilators, and diagnostic kits self-sufficiently, and in the next steps, succeeded in making and mass-producing the Iranian COVID-19 vaccines. Today, the COVID-19 vaccination is being pursued extensively and rapidly, with 98% of the target population having received their COVID-19 vaccine. This equates to injecting 119,686,241 doses of COVID-19 vaccines to the population. In addition, achievements like the success of Iranian athletes in international sport tournaments, the brilliance of Iran in cultural and artistic forums, and winning the most prestigious artistic awards, especially in the field of cinema and music, can be noted. Today, with the support of its people in all arenas, Iran is a safe country and a good friend for neighboring countries, and a harbinger of peace for other countries of the world. The growth of trade with neighbors and presence in the international arena and regional cooperation is evidence of this, despite the U.S.'s coercive restrictions on the countries in the region. Iran is more determined than ever in the path of development and progress, and the presence of its people and support in this direction showcase a brighter future than ever before.